With a million different things competing for our time and attention, especially as homemakers, sometimes it can be difficult to figure out if we are making the best use of our time, not just busy, but actually productive. Though today we are talking about homemaking and finding yourself really busy, but maybe not getting a whole lot done, this also can happen in business. So for those of you who are new to my channel, this might seem a bit off topic, but part of my job is teaching content creators how to be successful on YouTube and blogging, because we have been doing this now for 8 years. My husband's been home from his job, so we've been doing this as a family business for over 5 years, getting close to 6 years now. And I have learned along the way through my own mistakes and of course through teaching others that there are a lot of ways that you can be very busy without getting a whole lot done. So in business, this can look like tinkering around with your website, and not to say that having a great website isn't important, because it definitely can be, but at some point it's more important just to put one foot in front of the other and start making content, no matter how imperfect it may be, no matter how imperfect the website is, or your photography skills, or your storytelling skills, or whatever it may be in whatever platform you are choosing. I have noticed as well, just from my own personal life, from talking with friends and other women and followers and whatnot, that the same thing can happen when it comes to homemaking. You can really spin your wheels and yet not make progress on the most important aspects of homemaking. So for me, I think of the most important aspects to be food, cleanliness. Obviously that can entail laundry and keeping your home, basic meals, keeping your home simplified and decluttered. There are a lot of rabbit trails you can go down. So one of my biggest struggles when it comes to this is the idea rabbit trail, whenever that idea isn't applicable at this exact time. This happens to me a lot because I am a dreamer, I am a visionary. I'm the type of person who is always thinking about new ideas, new things. I do this all the time with things that aren't priority, and I have to ask myself, is it really the right time to think about this right now? Sometimes this can just look like dreaming up a whole new room design in a room that we aren't currently ready to work on. The idea will pop in my head, some kind of design idea, and before you know it, I'm on the internet scrolling, looking for curtains, fabric, quilts, paint colors for DIYs. I have a pin board, and we're not really ready to make the move on that project at this time. This can also happen whenever you get very addicted to collecting knowledge. So sometimes for me, it's too much research, too many ideas without actually taking any action on the new knowledge, on the ideas. Too many things swirling around in my brain really can keep me from being productive and focusing on the tasks at hand when it comes to keeping my home. When you are feeling overwhelmed, whether this be in your home or a business or whatever it might be, it's important to keep track of the priorities and never work on things that maybe feel easier in that moment, but only the things that will move the needle or be the most essential to what you need to accomplish. I notice pretty often that people who have limited time a lot of times tend to work on the wrong things in that very limited amount of time. They might be good things, but they aren't the most important things. You need to prioritize and get in the momentum of checking the most important things off your list first. This habit will help you to stay on top of the things that matter most. A A lot of time for me in my home, this means falling back onto some of my favorite recipes that I make over and over again. Today, I am making sourdough bagels. I like them because they require really small amount of effort. Now, if you haven't made sourdough bagels, you might be thinking that I'm just making that up, but really, the night before I want to make them, I get the dough going in my mixer, let it just sit out all night long, and then in the morning, I shape, rise, boil, and bake. And just like that, I can have a really easy meal. So today for lunch, we are doing sourdough bagels topped with everything seasoning. Some of them are going to be topped with Parmesan cheese and a little bit of cheddar, and then a spread of cheese and salami and cream cheese for a very simple and easy lunch. We're having friends over today. This is my go-to whenever we have a day like that. Let's talk about some of the common ways that I see people and myself wasting time in our homes. One of them would be making lots of lists and over planning. There are definitely things in our lives that require a lot of planning in order for them to be effective, but sometimes we can over plan, overdo the lists when in a lot of cases it would just be easier to mark that thing right off the list by doing the task at hand instead of adding it to the list at all. So instead of adding it to the list and knocking it off, just getting it done right then and there, giving no more mental thought to it. There is a rule when it comes to email that I've heard called the one-touch rule. I'm not very good at following this, but never looking at an email and then reading it, saving it for later to respond, but instead when you read it, if you are going to open up that email app or get on your email on your phone or your computer and actually take the time to read it, you should also be prepared to respond and deal with that email, that one-touch rule. So many things like this can happen in our home. You walk by something and you think, I should move that, even though it would take you the same amount of time to just grab it right at that moment. Either put it where it goes, declutter it, move it to its proper spot. If you can do that right then and there, it makes more sense than letting the mental burden of seeing that thing out of place multiple times throughout your day. That one-touch rule that I learned about for email could very much apply in the same way to how we deal with tasks within our home. I want to take a quick break from my homemaking to tell you about a way that I simplify my life and save time, and that's by creating a curated wardrobe that doesn't require me to spend a bunch of time getting ready. My favorite way to do that is with ThredUp, which happens to be the sponsor of this video. ThredUp is the smartest way to embrace your individual style and reduce your fashion footprint by giving new life to one-of-a-kind pieces at great prices. Let's take a look at a few of the things I found this time around. First up is this sweater from H&M. I like it because it's comfortable, it's casual, and then it has a little bit of a more interesting baggy shape. So probably not something around the house because I can't put up my sleeves for dishes, but maybe a date night or church. This dress from Everlane. I really like the shape. It has pockets. I like that I can cinch it at the waist. So, you know, as things readjust postpartum, and also for nursing, it's really comfortable and great for that. Again, probably a date night or a church dress. All right, the next thing is a 100% wool sweater from J. Crew. I have been wearing this one since I got it. Estimated retail price of $90 and a ThredUp price of $26.99. I picked up this casual dress from Universal Thread Goods. I like it because it's nursing friendly. Again, adjustable at the waist. This one has an estimated retail price of $25 and a ThredUp price of $18.99. Right, this last one is another Universal Threads and another thing that I've been wearing ever since the day it came in the mail, because it's just a basic and I like basic things. I wear this with a cardigan or something. It's very versatile, so if I get really hot during the day, I can take off the cardigan, but then I also can layer it up. I really also love the back. It has buttons down the back, so I love that extra detail, and the cut I find very flattering. Now, I actually saved several of my favorites over on ThredUp. You can go shop my secondhand favorites with my link below and use code FARMHOUSE for an extra 35% off your first order. Already great prices, an additional 35% off. Again, the link will be below. Don't forget to use the code FARMHOUSE. Thank you so much, ThredUp, for sponsoring today's video. Speaking of over list making and overdoing the planning. I fall back to this a lot. I actually really love to plan. And a lot of times I find that I am planning in order to procrastinate on the things that I don't like to do as much, the things that I just need to take action on. Another thing that we can tend to do is procrastinate. That's what Luke and I call it. We heard that somewhere along the line. Procrastinating is whenever there's something that you know needs to get done, but you don't want to devote the mental effort of getting started on that thing, whether it's something that you need to learn how to do, and so you have to stop and think, maybe watch a tutorial on, or just something that is not a very desirable thing to do. Mindless tasks like cleaning, laundry, dishes can distract you from doing some things that you really are putting off. So an example of this for me would be the other day, I finally went through our file cabinet. Now, it's not an actual cabinet. We don't have something like that in our house, but we have a spot where we keep paper things that I have been collecting over the last 10, 15 plus years of marriage. Things like property tax receipts, car insurance documents, investment documents. And the reason I kept all of them, literally all of them, insurance documents on vehicles that we no longer own and they're totally expired. But the reason I kept them is it took me a while to realize what it is that you actually need to keep, the things that you're going to revisit. Finally, the other day, I realized that it had been bothering me so much that I had such an unorganized file cabinet, and I always could think of something else to do instead of decluttering it. And this day I just had no excuse. I realized that the laundry was done, the house was clean enough. You know, that's another thing I'm going to get into is sometimes we tend to over clean in order to maybe avoid doing things that we'd rather not do. But I realized I had no excuse, and I got that job finally done. Luke had a fire going that day, so it made perfect sense to destroy the documents that we didn't need anymore, and I feel so much better about my cabinet. It's amazing how much I had been putting that off and how much it actually was really weighing on me that there was such a disorganized spot in my home. I mentioned over cleaning. I don't really have a problem with this. Just today, I had a microfiber dust cloth and I was up on a ladder because I was hanging some new curtains in our bedroom, and I realized that there was some spots in there that really should have been cleaned a long time ago. There was a layer of dust that I didn't really know existed because I couldn't see it very high up there on the wall and on the trim. So overcleaning isn't really a problem for me. But this can happen. Again, that procrastinating where you just keep on cleaning. You know, I'm being busy, I'm being productive, but yet neglecting some of the tasks that you might be putting off. We all know what those are. I truly do love spending time in the kitchen. I love making new recipes and trying out new ideas that I maybe find on Pinterest. But that is whenever there's extra time. And as a mother of 8 and a business owner and all the things, I don't find time for that super often. More often than not, I rely and fall back on very basic meals. Tonight, I am making root vegetables, actually just whatever I had in the fridge. So I had some Brussels sprouts, potatoes, carrots, some onions. I'm going to toss it with olive oil, salt, pepper, some Italian seasoning or herbs de Provence. I also have some pork chops that I'm gonna fry just like I do fried chicken, which I take any leftover bread. Usually this happens at the end of a week, or I might have a few sourdough brioche scraps left or some biscuits or rolls. If it resembles bread, I put it on a baking sheet, toast it in the oven, and then blend it to make sourdough breadcrumbs. Dredge chicken or pork and egg, and then into those sourdough breadcrumbs, fry it in lard. It makes a delicious and simple dinner. The number one reason that we can be busy but not seeing visible progress in the things that we want to accomplish in our homes is not having a system for implementing the things that have the most priority or even figuring that out. I just recorded a whole podcast episode on this very thing with Fallon Dene from Fallon's Table. The idea was, these days, we are basically drinking through a fire hose with all of the information, all of the systems, all of the various things that come our way. It can be hard to figure out which things should be priority, which things we should focus on. Sometimes we find ourselves just thinking about all the things in overwhelm, not even taking the next step. I try to each day make a list of the things that I need to get done. I have my overarching goals and then little small things I need to do each day. Whenever stacked on top of each other, they will reach my bigger goals. Putting those in focus and not trying to get too derailed by all of the input that we get all the time. It's important to set clear goals, set time limits, and also be aware that work does expand to fill the time that you have, even when you feel so busy. Whenever you get in a momentum of checking the most important things off the list and simplifying all the rest, it's like building a muscle. It builds and gets easier over time. Thank you so much for joining me on my homemaking today. Again, don't forget to check out ThredUp. You can thrift my picks with my link below. Use the code FARMHOUSE to get 35% off. Again, thank you so much for stopping by our farmhouse.